I'm Bob. I like coffee. I also like to tell stories. So here at the Bobcast Coffee, it's time for a coffee break. So take a coffee break with me and pour yourself a cup of your favorite Joe. By the time you're done with your coffee, you'll know something about me you really didn't need to know. But you'll have fun learning it. Just remember, my stories are true. For the most part.
This episode was brought to you by JM Insurance. JM Insurance. Do you have business, personal, or life insurance yet? Contact JM Insurance Agency to understand the benefits of insuring against the unforeseen circumstances of life. We have over 40 years of experience in the business and will guide with the best probable choice for your situation. Call us for more information at 405-353-0140 or visit our website at jminsurance.agency.
Welcome back. This is the start of Season 5 of All Things. This will be the fifth year of doing Bobcast. I believe we are up to episode 64. 64, yay. And just sitting here enjoying coffee. I'm here to tell you another military story today. We're going to be talking about National Guard time. So I was a young commissioned officer, and I graduated college. And the day I graduated college, I literally walked out of the ceremony, hugged my parents, got in a Jeep, and we took off to go get on an airplane to go to Ft.Ord, California. Now, the sad thing is my company, which was a straight leg scout company, was going to Germany to do their 2 weeks. And as a young lieutenant, well, there were other officers in the brigade that, they wanted to go, but they weren't going to go. They weren't part of that, the selection. So, someone got the great idea that maybe an absolute brand new lieutenant shouldn't be going to represent us in Germany. So I had an officer from somewhere in the command structure decide to take my spot, and I did not get to go to Germany. Instead, I joined up with a tow platoon, which is funny because when I first joined, I joined as a tow gunner. In fact, I went to basic training to be a tow gunner. So here I am, wrapped all the way back around, and now I'm going to be a platoon leader for a tow company in California at Ft.Ord. Now, I don't know if even Ft.Ord, I thought it got cut. I'll have to take a look and see if Ft.Ord was, I don't think it's still there anymore. But California, say what you want to say, it's a beautiful place. And Ft.Ord was a gorgeous landscape. It was not the cleanest fort. I've told stories of Fort Benning. Fort Benning was spotless. Wherever you went, Fort Benning was pristine. Nothing was ever out of place. Ft.Ord, not that much. But it's in California. It's up near San Francisco. So, or at least we had to drive through San Francisco where we landed to get to Ft.Ord. And it was beautiful. The land is beautiful. The base, maybe not so much. So here I am, a young lieutenant with a group of guys I've I have no idea who they are. They don't know me at all. And I'm supposed to be out commanding them. Well, normally in the military, during training and stuff, the sergeants do all the training. I mean, you just say, hey, sergeant, we're supposed to be training on breach drill, how to breach into a building. And they go out and they do that. And you sit there and do all the paperwork and go out and watch and make sure, everything's happening. But you don't do a lot. When you're out on, we were calling them RTEPs. When we were out there actually in the field, you were supposed to lead. So I've had no training time with these guys. And we go straight out into the field, and I'm supposed to be making all the decisions. And they're looking at me like, really? Okay. One of the first things, we were up on a ridge. We were getting ready to go do mount training. We were waiting our turn to do mount training. And mount training is urban warfare. And we'd been out in the field for a couple of days. And I noticed that my tobacco supply, because I smoked back then, I was running out. And I look around, everybody's trying to bum cigarettes, chew, whatever they can get their hands on. And no one's got anything. Everybody's, pretty much empty. And I thought to myself, I can read a training schedule, and we got nothing set to train until like 10 o'clock tomorrow. We've just been issued a bunch of miles gear, which is the laser tag of the military. And basically the guys were all in their defensive position, really setting up for the night, playing with their miles gear and having a good time. And I thought, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I went over to my RTO and I said, get the radio out of the Hummer, and we'll you set up over there, and I'm going to go for a big drive. I'll be back. My plan, I drove into base. I'm going to find some store open, and I'm just going to buy a crap load of cigarettes, chewing tobacco, anything I can get my hands on, and come back, and I'll be Santa Claus, and maybe these people will quit, giving me the stink eye every time I walk by. Great. Off I go. Now, I don't know Ft.Ord. We've been on the base one day, and then we took off out into the field. So, driving up into Ft.Ord, I'm looking, and it's getting kind of late. And I realize all these shops, that I'm hitting, anytime I find any place that should be open, they're closed. Well, crap. So I've been gone for probably an hour or so, and I'm like, I'm striking out. I can't find anything open, not even a gas station. So I turn around, I'm going to head back, and I see this one building. It's got a lot of cars and activity. And I said, well, maybe, let's see what that is. And I pull over to it. It's an NCO club. The only thing open that I've found. NCO club. Now that's a non-commissioned officers club. That's not Bob. Bob is a commissioner. I don't care. I'm tired. I'm covered in mud. It's been a wet, nasty couple of days that we've been in the field, and I'm going to get this done. So I just walk in, and you walk in, and the way it's set up, the door opens up, and you've got a whole bar set up. There's the actual bar itself is running away from me at the door, and then there's a bunch of chairs and tables and the jukebox, and it's a seedy dive anywhere else. It's an NCO club at Ft.Ord. But off to this side, just as you come in the door, they've got like a little convenience store set up, and you can buy chips and stuff like that, and behind the counter, cigarettes, tobacco, and I'm like, jackpot. Excellent. So I grab my wallet, I see how much cash I got left, and I walk up there and I say, okay, I need to buy some tobacco. And I need, 3 packs of that, 4 packs of that. And the guy's just looking at me, right? And I stop and I kind of look up at my hat. And I go, the sooner I buy it, the sooner I'm out of here. And he kind of, stupid lieutenants, right? Here I am. So he starts getting stuff down, and I give him the cash. And this is when, if I had to put a comparison to this, I want you to imagine any Western you've ever seen. All right? And you've got the people all bellied up at the bar, and they're having their whiskey. And I'm not the only one trying to buy, cigarettes. And there's other people standing there and stuff. So I want you to think of it like this. You see in the Western, and the 2 guys are sitting here, and the third person's here. And these 2 guys start to get into an argument. So the guy in the middle is going to punch the guy that he's arguing with. But when he pulls back, he elbows the guy behind him in the side of the head. The guy in the side of the head turns to looks at the very first person, who is someone else walking around, not doing anything, but he's the closest guy. He must have been the guy that hit me, and he punches. So now you've got this fight that just breaks out and goes everywhere. Very classic scene, right? Imagine Bob focused on getting as much tobacco into this bag and being able to pay for it so I can go. And the next thing I know, I don't know if it's an elbow, if it's a fist, it could have been a head, a foot, I don't know. Something hit me right aside the head. And the next thing I know, I'm looking at the floor. And it's just like, bam, and I'm down. There's a bar fight going on. Now, seconds before, it was just music and people drinking. Next thing I know, I am on the floor and everybody is fighting. And I'm like, holy crap. And that's when strange things. I'm at Ft.Ord, California. It's an Army base. And these 2 big hands grab me and pick me up and put me back on my feet. And, whether it's just the fact that I'm short, right? 5'4", whether it's the fact that I just got hit in the side of the head, surprise, out of nowhere, or this guy was actually the largest human being I've ever seen in my life. But that's still not the weirdest part. This guy picks me up, sets me down in front of him, and I'm looking at this huge Marine. What's a Marine doing at an NCO club on an Army base? Don't have a clue. I got theories, but at this moment, I don't have a clue. And he looks down at me and he goes, reaches up, puts his thumb up on my hat, rubs the mud off my little butter bar up on top of my hat. And he goes, Lieutenant, I don't think you should be here. And I'm like, yeah. No, duh. So he reaches over, grabs my sack, hands it to me, basically picks me up and sets me outside the door. And the next thing I know is he's turning around, running back into the fight. And I'm sitting there going, what just happened? Don't care, right? I go get in my Hummer. I drive back over to, and it took me a while actually to find where we were, but I got back to my platoon, and now it's like midnight. And I pull in, repark the Hummer, and find my RTO and tell him to reload the radio gear and everything back in. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what a weird night. I got to spend the next hour running around like Santa Claus, cancer for you and cancer for you and cancer for me. And it was. Did it actually win the guys over? Not really, but they tolerated me better. So, how to win over a tow company? Cigars, cigarettes. I didn't bring them beer. I'm not going that far. But it was a weird time. Never have I ever seen a bar fight explode just like a movie. Never have I had a guy the size of a door pick me up and not try to kill me and actually do something nice for me. It was a weird night. So Ft.Ord, it was like third night, but the first story of being out on the field in Ft.Ord, California. Very bizarre times. All right, I'll come back probably dressed just like I am. I'm going to tell the next story. So 64, episode 64, bar fights at Ft.Ord. I think the next one, we're going to talk about the next day, mount training. So we'll be back with another story. Until then, of course, drink your coffee, do good, get back to work.